All right, so back to the live stream mix on a phone. How do we make sure that these modifications that we're making to help the phone users don't ruin it for everybody else?
One thing that I've been working on lately that is pretty cool is, obviously if you have time to check these things on both devices, like rule number one, when it comes to studio work, is you should mix everything on multiple sets of speakers. The idea that you're mixing on a pair of nice studio monitors, even if they're not that nice, is kind of silly when you think about it, because maybe half of 1% of your audience is going to happen to have those same speakers. And then maybe a more generous number would be like maybe half the audience, probably more like 25%, is even listening to them on a nice pair of speakers at all, or like in their car. A lot of people are listening to them on their phone. So listening to it on multiple sets of monitors and making sure that your EQ changes sound good on both is incredibly important. One thing I used to do was I had an X32 that I was mixing, and I had studio monitors in there, but I took the USB out and plugged it into my laptop, and I opened Logic, and I had just the 2-channel out going into a channel in Logic, and I would listen to it through my laptop speakers. And so I could kill that, listen to it on my laptop, and then go back and forth. And one thing that I found that was kind of interesting was there are certain frequencies, and they tend to be, from my recent experience, around 200 to 250 hertz, that you could kind of take or leave in a big speaker. But if you have too much of them on a laptop, like a MacBook Pro speaker, it starts to sound like a fart. And so what I would do is I would, I was trying to make this really punchy snare, and I was inadvertently boosting, I think it was like 225 hertz. And so I would take a parametric EQ and I'd sweep it around, and all of a sudden I'd find where it sounded really farty. I'd pull that out. The laptop speaker sounds way better now. I would then switch to my either studio monitors or in-ears or whatever I have that I've been mostly mixing with, and I would turn that EQ on and off. And often I would find that it made a nominal difference to the nicer speakers, but it made a huge difference to my laptop speakers. And so that would kind of determine if I did that, or maybe if I went a little bit too far with my cut, maybe I'd kind of meet in the middle and try and find something that sounded good. But that was an area where that's just where like the low end starts to creep into a laptop or an iPhone speaker. And if you, sometimes a narrow notch and just pulling that kind of stuff down will make a world of difference on that and barely affect your other speakers.
It's a good tip, man. We have in our lobby at church, we have a TV out there that has a sound bar on the top of it. And so I'll go out there and mix in the lobby because I'm like, probably a good percentage of people are watching on their TV through a sound bar. So might as well see what it sounds like in there.
That's genius. At Hillsong, now I didn't do much with broadcast in my 3 years I was there, but one thing I did see they did that was really smart. And this was before COVID, obviously. They bought the same TV that on the outside area, if you weren't in the service, on the outside lobby area, they had these TVs mounted, and they used the same TV in like the parents' cry room and different places around campus. They purposely bought a whole bunch of these TVs, and they mounted one of them in the broadcast room. And they could flip to that because that at the time was like their guaranteed audience. Like what they're mixing for that particular service may or may not go out online, but it's definitely going to go to that parents' cry room. And there was something about a TV with a sound bar, or what's even worse is just a TV mounted to the wall. Is crazy how these low mid frequencies will, when something's mounted to a wall, can create all these weird artificial sounds that are not part of your mix, but it's just the way the TV's vibrating because it's this cheap plastic TV mounted to the wall. But if that's your audience and everyone's going to be on that TV, it only makes sense to flip to that TV and hear how it sounds and make changes that are going to guarantee that your audience is going to have a good experience.
Mixing sound seems complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Get access to our stress-free training to help you create great sound at church by visiting churchsoundmadesimple.com.